You have $300. Not $3,000. Not an inheritance. Not a year-end bonus. Or $300. The cost of a phone bill. The cost of dinner for two on a Friday night. The amount that quietly disappears from your checking account without leaving any visible trace. But what if that money didn't disappear? What if, instead of becoming a pizza and two sodas, it became the first brick of something you can't yet imagine? This is not a video about getting rich. It's a video about what happens when you stop underestimating $300. It's the 5th of the month. You just got paid. The account looks full. Or at least it feels that way. Rent hasn't gone out yet. The credit card closes next week. There's a brief, almost physical sensation of breathing deeply. You could leave those $300 sitting there. Most people do. Not out of carelessness. Because $300 in a country where inflation erodes everything feels too small to matter. It feels symbolic. It feels like the kind of thing that makes a difference for people who have more. But you transfer it. Or $300 into an investment fund tied to the CDI rate. No drama, no ceremony. The confirmation appears on screen in 2 seconds. The balance reads $300. You close the app. Nothing happens. That's the most important part to understand. Nothing happens. No fireworks, no special notification. The universe doesn't acknowledge what you just did. But time does, and time will charge interest on that acknowledgement. In month 3, you check the balance. $12.47. You look again. We're $9.12. You invested $900. The return was $12.47. That's less than the delivery fee on the food app you used the day before yesterday. The human brain wasn't built for this. It was built to hunt, to harvest, to get immediate results proportional to effort. Planting a seed and waiting 5 years for a tree to grow goes against everything instinct commands. That's why most people stop here, not because they're irresponsible, because invisible progress doesn't feel like progress. But you keep going. Month 6, $1,842,60. Month 9, $2,789,15. Month 12, $3,744,28. You invested $3,600 over the course of a year. The return was $144.28. That's 4% per year, within the projected CDI average for the period. $144.28. You think, that doesn't even cover a utility bill. And you're right. It doesn't. Not yet. But there's something no bank statement shows. You became the kind of person who invests every month. That shift in identity is worth more than $144. Because it doesn't go away when the market falls. The second year starts just like the first. $300 on the 5th. Confirmation in 2 seconds. App closed. But something changed. You no longer check every week. You develop the rarest skill in financial markets. The ability to not look. End of year 2, the balance reads $7,641.33. End of year 3, $11,704.87. End of year 4, or $15,940.22. End of year 5, or $2,354.19. You invested $18,000 over those 5 years. The accumulated return was $23,54.19. Pause here. You have $20,354 set aside. That's more than many Brazilians have in savings after an entire lifetime of work. You did this in 5 years with $300 a month. But that's not where the story gets interesting. The story gets interesting when compound interest stops crawling and starts running. Year 6. You open the app on an ordinary Monday. The balance reads $24,954.71. You invest another $300. The return for that single month was $182.44. $182 in a single month. Your money is starting to work faster than it came in at the beginning. In year 6, the annual return exceeds $2,100. That's $175 per month generated by interest. More than half of what you deposit is being paid by the accumulated capital itself. This has a name: interest on interest. The formula is simple. The effect is extraordinary. Year 7. $29,754.53. Year 8, $34,162.41. Year 9, $39,986.88. Year 10, $45,435.63. You crossed $45,000. To have that same amount in a traditional savings account over the same period With the same discipline, you would have roughly $38,200. Their $7,200 difference didn't come from extra work. It came from the choice of where to keep the money. At this point in the journey, something psychological starts to happen. You stop seeing $300 as a sacrifice and start seeing it as the price of freedom. Not the freedom to retire tomorrow. The freedom to not wake up in a panic at 3 a.m. because the car broke down and you have no money for repairs. That quiet freedom has a name that finance books rarely use: dignity. Year 11. The annual return on your investment exceeded $3,200. You're contributing $3,600 per year. The return is $3,200. The gap between what you deposit and what the capital generates on its own is only $400 per year. You're 1 year away from an inflection point. Year 12. Annual return, $3,748. This year, your money earned more than you deposited. You put in $3,600. The capital returned to $3,748. This isn't a metaphor. It's math. Your money became a self-employed worker producing more than you invest in it. Balance at the end of year 12 were $60,418.29. You didn't win the lottery. You didn't get an extraordinary raise. You didn't inherit from a distant uncle. You simply didn't stop. Before we get to year 15, I need a pause. Not to ask for a like, not to ask you to subscribe, to ask one real question. If you were starting today with exactly $300, how long would it take before you stopped checking your balance every week and simply trusted the process? Write it in the comments. Not the amount you have, not where you want to end up, just that. How long can you stay consistent before your brain starts manufacturing doubt? That question matters more than any number I'm about to show you. Year 13. The balance crossed $72,000. The average monthly return is $528. You're depositing $300 a month and receiving $528 in interest. That difference, $228, is money that didn't exist before and that cost no work at all. Year 14. Balance. 81,847,33. Average monthly return, $599. You're generating almost $600 per month in passive income. That's twice what you deposit. Every $1 you put in is being matched by $2 that time generates. Someone who started alongside you but stopped at year 5 to use the money has $0 invested and maybe some fond memories of a trip they've mostly forgotten. You have $81,000 and the memory of 14 years of Mondays where nothing dramatic happened. Which one was worth more? Month 180. You open the app for what might be the last time before an important decision. You're not being dramatic. It's just that this was the deadline you set for yourself, 15 years. On 80 deposits of $300, the balance reads $92,185.47. You invested $54,000 over those 15 years. The total return was $38,185.47. You received $38,185 that didn't come from your work. They came from time. You can withdraw everything now, or you can withdraw nothing. If you withdraw nothing in 5 more years with the same $300 monthly, the balance will be approximately $152,000. At 20 total years, the accumulated interest will surpass $80,000. You will have generated with $300 a month more than $80,000 in wealth that didn't exist before. No inheritance, no startup, no high risk. Just consistency on an amount most people spend without noticing. The balance isn't the most important part of this story. The most important part is what $300 a month bought over 15 years. It bought meeting, not free days. The ability to say no to a bad job without immediate financial collapse. It bought clarity. When you have a growing reserve, you think with a cooler head. You negotiate better. You accept less because you're less desperate. It bought identity. You're no longer the person who spends everything. You're the person who invests every month. That difference changes how you make choices in every other area of your life, not just the financial ones. It bought proof. You prove to yourself that you can sustain something for 15 years. That is one of the most valuable pieces of information a human being can have about themselves. No bank statement shows those 4 things. But they're there. $300 a month is not a plan to get rich. It's a plan to stop being poor in one very specific way. The poverty of never having a choice. There are people earning $15,000 a month who have no choices because they spend $15,000. There are people earning $3,000 who have more freedom than them because they saved $300 a month for long enough. Money doesn't buy happiness, but the absence of a reserve buys a kind of anxiety that no happiness can cure. $300 a month is the minimum price of financial dignity. The question isn't whether you have $300. The question is, what are you going to do with the month that starts tomorrow?